Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the ABCs of ABA. Today, we are going to talk about one of my favorite concepts, reinforcement. This is a relatively simple concept that is happening all around us all the time. In order to understand reinforcement, we have to break our timeline of events down a little. As analysts, we break it down into two specific parts: behavior, what an individual actually says or does, and consequence, what happens after the behavior. Our society has placed a negative connotation on consequences, making the word almost interchangeable with punishment, but within the ABA world, that is not it at all. In the ABA world, consequence simply describes what happens after a behavior. It can be good, bad, or indifferent. Looking at this, it is easier to see what reinforcement is. Reinforcement occurs when a consequence follows a specific behavior, and the kiddo learns that pairing. Behavior A gets X, Y, or Z, and then engages in the behavior more in the future in order to get that consequence. Let's use my daughter as an example. She is learning to use the potty. After she pees in the potty, the behavior, I let her watch a TV show on my phone. The consequence, she learns that potty equals TV, so she engages in that behavior more, i.e. sitting on the potty and peeing, in order to get the TV. The consequence, I have just used reinforcement to teach my daughter to pee in the potty. Remember last week I talked about how behavior happens for a reason? The behavior is learned. Reinforcement is a process through which behaviors are learned. So one more time, what is reinforcement? It is the pairing of a behavior and a consequence that increases the likelihood that that specific behavior will occur more frequently in the future in order to get that consequence. There are many consequences that might cause reinforcement to occur. We identify these consequences and call them reinforcers. A paycheck, for example, is a reinforcer. Getting a paycheck increases the probability that I will keep working. Some of the most likely or well-known reinforcers for kids include candy, iPad time, TV time, recess, food, toys, stuffed animals, cars, time to draw, getting out early, tokens, filters on iPads, and beads. And the list goes on and on. For adults, this list might look a little different and also include wine, money, or time away from our kids. As you can see, the list of potential reinforcers is endless and can change over time, space, or the individual. For example, you might be willing to work for hot chocolate in the middle of the winter, but not so much in the middle of the summer. Or as an adult, you'll work for a nap. As a child, you would complain that you have to take one. Reinforcement is literally in the eyes of the beholder. Anything could be a reinforcer. What matters is how you, the person engaging in the behavior, reacts after receiving it. If that behavior increases, it was a reinforcer. Even if it's a popular item or consequence, if it doesn't increase your behavior in the future, then it wasn't a reinforcer for you. My list of reinforcers is not going to be the same as your list of reinforcers, and that's okay. Let's give a few more examples. Pretend for a minute that I am gluten-free. Giving me cookies or a candy bar after I wash the dishes is not going to make me wash the dishes again. I don't want to be sick. But giving it to my daughter, who loves chocolate, man, she will definitely start doing those dishes. And in that case, it did serve as a reinforcer. Or let's think about wine. For many people, they might be willing to start clearing off the table at the end of the day if they get a glass of wine. But if you're a beer guy, you probably won't start clearing the table for a glass of wine. To each their own reinforcers. Okay, so let's just summarize here for a minute. At the core of reinforcement, it's the pairing of a behavior and a consequence. And that pairing increases the likelihood that the behavior will occur again in the future, i.e., the frequency of the behavior increases. Let's give one more example. Let's say you're potty training a little girl. The kiddo needs to sit on the potty, or the behavior. Once they sit on the potty, you give them an M&M. As a result, they sit on the potty more frequently. This means that reinforcement has occurred. the behavior has increased. Thanks for joining me on ABCs of ABA. Next, we will talk about the 4 specific steps you should follow to use reinforcement within your own home. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.